Hey guys, in this video you will learn how to build a simple Django app called Huddle. In Huddle you join by entering an email stein@gmail.com and the Huddle key, for example Huddle test. Huddle test. When you join this you'll see okay, this was created, and then you can create items or messages here that will be listed out here. These messages will be sent to everyone that's active in this Huddle, and as many people as you want can join this Huddle as long as they have this key. I'm going to use a service called circumio.io for hosting this project, and I'm going to deploy it there. And the deployment is free, as you can see here. And I'm also going to use Celery for scheduling email sending and also scheduling deleting of old Huddles that are not active anymore. For the design I'm going to use Tailwind. Anyways, enough chit chat, let's jump into coding. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to just create an environment here on my Mac that we can use. This environment will be used to install Django and similar. So let's create one by saying python 3-m venv env. Venv just stands for virtual environment, env stands for the name of my environment. When this is created you can activate it by saying source env then activate. So you can see here the name of the environment is just right before my username on this Mac. The process for this is similar on Windows, but it might be a little bit different, and you will find it by just googling virtual environment python 3. And when this is done we can begin by installing Django. So pip install Django. This will install the newest stable version of Django, which currently is 5.07. And when that's done we can create the project. So the project we're going to create here will be called Huddle. I'm just in the empty folder now with the same name. So Django-admin start project Huddle project. So then I'll just know that this is the project folder. And then we can go into this, and if I run ls now to list all of the files, you will see the typical manage.py file and also a folder with the same name as the project. Great. Next I will just open this here in Visual Studio Code. So I have the environment here, you don't need to think more about that now. And then we have the main or root folder here and the project there. Great, so we have the settings file, the URLs, etc. Let's go back to the command line to create a new app. So Python managed.py start app Huddle. And the Huddle will just be what this whole project will be about, as you saw in the intro. An app is just a small part of a big Django project. So let's go back here now, and then you can see it was added there, but Django still doesn't know that we're going to use this app, so we need to add it inside settings.py. If you scroll down you will find a section called install apps. And there are already a few, for example the contrib admin, which gives automatic admin interface to all Django apps. Static files, this is for handling static files in the project. This is for showing flash messages, which we are also going to use in this video. And then at the bottom here we can add Huddle, which will reference this folder. And since this has this init.py file inside, Django will treat this as a module. We can try to run the project now just to see that everything works as expected in the browser. So Python managed.py run server. You can see here I get this warning, which we will fix soon. Click this address and it will open up here. Perfect. I'm going to use Tailwind CSS for the design. So let's go to Tailwind CSS, Google it, tailwindcss.com, go into the documentation and the play CDN. Feel free to install it using the CLI or one of these if you want to do that, but since this video is mostly about Django and deployment and Celery, we're just going to use this the CDN because that's very easy to use. So we can copy this starter template and go back into Visual Studio Code. I want the base template to be in here, so we need to create a new folder here called templates, and inside this templates folder a new folder called Huddle. And the reason why we do this is that Django automatically look for a folder called templates inside each of the apps, and then to separate the apps from each other we put a new folder inside the templates folder with the same name as the app, and then in there we create base.html and paste this. Can remove this and then just fix the indentation like this. This is how I like it to be done. We can add a title tag if we want. Huddle. Save. So if I go back here now, refresh, nothing happens because we need a view to show when we go to the front page. So we can begin by creating the view for this inside the views.py in the Huddle folder. Def index, which will be the front page, and pass in the request parameter. This contains information about the browser, etc. So now that this is done, we just need to render a template, return, render, pass in the request parameter, so this is available inside the template. And then here we specify which template we are going to use. And then here I can just say Huddle, and then this Huddle will reference this folder, or refer to that one, and base.html. Still, this doesn't know because Django doesn't know how to reach this. So inside this app we need to create a file called urls.py. If we wanted to, we could just add it in this urls file, but to keep things as clean as possible and follow best practices, we create a new urls file just for this app. So here we can begin by importing one thing from Django Django.urls import path, and then I want to import the views file, so from .import views. Since we're only going to have 2 views, I think we can just import the whole file. And then at the bottom we say URL patterns, which will be a list of URL patterns that we can match. Path, and we just use this function, and when the URL is empty I want to use views.index or render that. Can set the name to be index like that. So then this name can be used other places in this project to reference this exact file. Still, if I refresh, nothing is going to work, and that's because in the settings.py file, if you scroll down you will find here root URL config, which points to the URLs file in the main project. But that's okay because that's what we want. In here we just need to include it here. So we can just say path empty and then include huddle.urls. Get a warning here now because include is not defined. We need to import it together with path. So include like that. So what will happen now is that when you go to the website, it will first try to match any of these URLs, and when it's not finding anything there, it will go in here. For example, when it's empty, then it goes in there, and then it goes in here and find out, okay, I matched this one. Now we will going to render this view. So now if I refresh, we will see a blank page with a Huddle title up there. That's great. But this base template is something that we want to reuse. So we actually don't want to render the base template. We want to create a new file called index.html. And then if I go here now, we can change this to index.html. And if I go back and refresh now, you will see that Huddle is gone from here now, because this file doesn't know that it's going to just extend this file. But we can say up here, extends Huddle/base.html and save. So now we got this back, which means that whatever I write in here will also show there. But we want to make it possible to add content just on this page that will render somewhere here. And to do that, we're going to use something called a block tag. So block content. Content is just a name that I like to use for the main content of the page. You can call this whatever you want. Block content, and then go back here. And sorry, block content. We need to add it here as well. Hello. And block. save. So if I refresh now, you can see that this comes from this file, and the rest, for example the Huddle up there, comes from the base.html. So that's how you reuse templates. Okay, so right now this page doesn't really look like anything. So let's begin by adding the menu you saw at the top. So inside the body here we can say nav, which is an HTML element, class, and we need to add some Tailwind classes. To add py-4, which adds some spacing above and below the content in here, and px-8, which adds spacings on each of the sides of the content. Now I want to set the background to BG Slate 800, which is a dark grayish color, and the text to be white. So if I just add something there now, go back and refresh, you can see that this menu is on the top with the spacings, text is white, and all of this comes from the base.html. In here I just want to have a title saying Huddle, h1 class, text to Excel, which is sort of a big title, and set the font to be bold. Huddle. Save, refresh, like that. Perfect. Also want to set the background color of the whole project, which can be done in the body element. BG Slate 700, which is a little bit 700, a little bit lighter than this. Lighter or brighter, whatever. Great. So you can barely see this now, but that's okay, we are going to fix that later. I just want to add some spacing around this element, so div class p-8, fix indentation like that. So p-8 just adds space on all four sides, so above, below, right and left. So you can see that I got some spacing here. At least I hope you can see that, like that. Before I continue, I just want to say thanks to all of my patrons. If you too want to support me, you will find a link in the description below. On the front page here, I want a simple form showing where you can join a Huddle, where you just write your email and the key to the Huddle you want to join or create. So on the index.html file, I want to add some more things here. A div class pt-200 pixels. This is how you can hard code things. You can use official Tailwind class if you want to do that, but it's okay to just try different things. And in here I want to add one more div class max-w-2xl. So I want to limit the width of the box we are going to have in here. Just can add some content there. You can see they got the space on the top, but you can't see the background. Let's set the BG Slate 800 just so you can see what I'm talking about. Here you can see that the width is limited to almost half of my screen. This will probably vary from screen to screen, but I want to center it on the screen, and to do that we use the mx-auto. So margin in the x-axis set to auto, and that should center it on the screen. I want to have some spacing in this, so p-8, and I want this to have rounded corners, so rounded 3xl. And I got the spacing in here, and the corners are also rounded. And we can set the text to be center and the text to be white. Refresh. Great. And then in here I just want a simple title calling which says join Huddle. So h2 class and b-6, so we get some space below the title down to the form. Text to Excel, join Huddle. Refresh. Great. And then below here we can create the form. So form method can be set to get, because we are not going to use post for this one. Action can just go to the page we are on right now. I will change that later. Class space, close that one. And then in here I begin with the input type for the email. So input type email, name user, class w-full to fill out the whole box we are in, py-4 so it has some spacing above and below inside there, px6, bg slate 600, which is even brighter than the menu again, and rounded xl, oops, some space here, rounded, whoops, rounded xl, and I want the text to be white in there, white. You can also set a placeholder calling your email address, and then just close that one, save, so we can go back and see this. Yes, I don't know if I would call this perfect, but it's good enough for this tutorial. Then below here I want a similar text field for joining a huddle, so we can just copy this. The type for that should just be text, and set the name to be key. But the class name can be the same, and the placeholder can be enter huddle key, like that. Save, refresh. Okay, so I want some space between these, but instead of adding a margin bottom on this, you can add a clause here, space -y4, which will add 4 between each of the elements inside the form. Next, I just want a simple button below here. So button class w-32, py4, px6, bg sky 700, which is sort of a bluish color, rounded xl, and text white, and then the label can be join. So there we have a very simple sort of login, or at least a join page. So since we now have the template for this, I think we should make it possible to fill in here, fill in this, and click join to be sent to the correct page. But to do that, we need one more view. So if I open up views.py again, scroll down or go down here and say def huddle request. Here I want to get the key from the URL, the key and the user. So get information key equals request.get key, default is to be empty. So now this will find this URL parameter and take the value from that. Do the same with the user, request.get user, default is to be empty. And then at the bottom here we can say render, return a render request, pass in huddle/huddle.html, create a dictionary here so that we can pass in the user. I'm going to come back to the key soon. So right now this variable will at least be visible in this template. Next step will be to create the template. So we create a new file called huddle.html. This should also extend the huddle/base.html file. And we can also here use this and block and save. So how do we now go from here and into there? First we need to add this into the URLs pattern. So we can say path huddle. So when we go to /huddle, we want to use views.huddle, set the name to be huddle, and save. So now we can just close this file because we are not going to use that anymore. So now we just need to set up this form to link to that exact template or view. So in here, instead of saying action dot, we can use the URL function from Django to find the URL called huddle and save. So if I go back now, I can find, fill out an email, huddle key, huddle test, join. So now I was sent here, you can see we're still using this template. The username is up here and the key is up here as well. Let's do some more things with the template here, and we can start more with the database and similar after that. So let's go back to huddle.html and create a new div here. Set the class to be max w2xl, max auto p-8, rounded 3xl, bg slate 800, and text white. At the top here I want a title, so we add the h2, give this a class of mb-6, and text 2xl, and huddle, and then here I want to print the huddle name soon. Save, go back and refresh, and then you see it there. Great. In here, or below the title, I want a form that we're going to use to talk to this huddle or send in the messages. So I need to add a form here, method, and here I want to use the post. And the reason why I chose to use get here is because I want to keep these up here in the URL, but for this form we can just keep it in the data instead. The action can go to the page we are on, but we can do it like this: URL huddle, and this name huddle, by the way, refers to the URLs file here and this name. So then we can do that, and at the end here as a question mark, user equals, and then we pass in the username or user, and I also want to pass in the key, which we don't have yet, so it's just a key equals huddle key. I will come back to that soon. Add the class here, space dash y dash 4, so we get some space between each of the elements in the form. And since we are now using a post request, we need to add the CSRF token here. Like that, CSRF underscore token, which is a hidden field that contains a cookie token to prevent cross-site request forgery. And then here I can also say input type hidden. I want this to be hidden field. Name user. I want to pass the username in here. I use this for form validation. Value user. Below here I want the text area. That should be the message field. So text area, name, content, class, w-full, py-4, px-6, pg slate 600, and text should be white, and I want the corners to be rounded, so rounded XL. You can have a placeholder here, enter your message. And then below this text area we can have a button which you can just copy from here. But instead of throwing join, you can say submit. Let's save and see if it works. Yes, here we have the field, the submit button. Perfect. And then below the form I want to list out the huddles or the messages that is in the database, but there are none right now. So for now I think we can skip working with the template and start working with the database models. The database models is actually simple for this project. We can begin with the one for the huddle, so class, huddle, pass in models.model, so Django knows what we are doing here. I want one field for the key, which should just be a models.char field. Max length can be set to 50, and that should be it for the huddle for now. And then class item or message. It's just that I don't like to use the word message here, since that crashes with the built-in message that Django comes with. So here we also pass in models.model, but here we need a reference up to the huddle, so Huddle with lowercase equals models.foreign key. Huddle. Related name can be items, which makes it then easy to find all of the items belonging to a specific huddle. On delete models.cascade, which means that if a huddle is deleted, all of the items will also be deleted in the same process. On the username here, so user models.charfield max length 255, since many people have long email addresses. Content equals models.text field, this is the message field, and I want to know when this was created. So created at equals models.date time field, auto now add true. So then we don't have to fill this out ourselves. When this is added to the database, Django will fill out a timestamp. And then we can save that and go to the terminal and update the database. So Python manage.py make migrations. So now you can see here we want to create two new models, and to actually create this in the database we say Python manage.py migrate. So you can see all of the initial database tables from Django was created, and also our new tables. That will make this disappear as well. So then we can run the server again, and everything should be as it was. Great. So then we can do some changes to the view, so that when you go into this, we either create a new huddle or we get it from the database. So below here we can say huddle, comma, created equals huddle, oops, need to import the database model from .models import huddle, huddle.objects.get or create key equals key. So it will either find a huddle in the database based on the key, or it will be created. And then we can pass this in here as well, so we have it available in the template, and save. So when that is done, we can go back here and show the key here. So huddle.key, and instead of hard coding it like that, we say huddle.key there as well, and save. So let's refresh now. You'll see huddle test. Nice. That means that now we have this in the database. If the database, if the huddle is created, we can show a message at the top. And to do that, we can use the built-in messages functionality that comes with Django. So first we can import that at the top here from django.contrib import messages. And we can say if created, that's how we know if it was created or just get from the database. Then we say messages.success request the huddle was created. Save. So now this will be added to a session, but we have not shown it yet. So that will be the next step. But it's very simple. You just need to go back to the base.html, and we can say if messages, and if, so this will only be rendered if there actually are any messages, and for message in messages. So then we'll loop through each of these, and for, and we can add div class mb-for py4 px6 pgsky 800, the dark bluish color, text white, and rounded-xl. And in here we just print out the message, and the message is the one that we add in there. So if I refresh, nothing will happen, but if I change this to huddle test 2, we get this message at the top, so you know that the huddle is brand new. Nice. Okay, so the next step then is to make this form work. And to do more best practices from Django, we are going to create a new file called forms.py and import one thing here, or two, from Django.forms import model form, and below here we import the item model. So from .models import item, class item form, and then we're going to use the model form we imported at the top. To configure this, we say class meta and model equals item, and the fields we want to make sure are filled out and used is fields equals content item, user, and remember to add the comma at the end there. So now this will handle the validation for us. We just need to use it. So here in the views.py we say from.forms import item form, and then below here we can see if the form has been submitted. Form submitted ? If request.method equals post, then we know that someone clicked the submit button, and we can say form equals item form, pass in request.post, and Django will fix that for us. But we need to check if the form is valid. So if form.is valid, then we can say item equals form.save commit equals false. And what this commit equals false does is that it creates an object based on the model, but it's not saved in the database, because since we have not set the huddle, it will just crash. So we need to set item.huddle equals huddle, which is the one created or got from the database there, item.save. And when this is now saved, it will be stored in the database, and we should be able to see it on the front page. So let's just redirect us back there, return, redirect, and then we do a formatted string here to huddle / key equals key and user equals user. See that get a warning here now because it's not defined. Let's import it here as a shortcut from Django. Save. I think we are ready to test now. Let's just refresh. Hello. Submit. Yes, there was no errors, so hopefully it was working. If I refresh, nothing happens. So then the next step will be to just print the items below here. So let's go back to the template for the huddle, and we can say div class empty-6 space y4, so we have space between each of the items. For item in huddle.items.all, and for, and in here I create a new div class py4 px6 pg slate 700 text white and rounded XL. Then at the top in here I have to show who created it and when. So p class font bold by item.user, then we just reference that field at item.created by. Below here we can show the content, so item.content, and save. Go back and refresh. There, created at, of course. So by that user at that. You can change that and use a built-in time since filter ago. So now I will just say 1 minute ago instead of the date, which looks a little bit better in an app like this. Let's add one more text here. I will see that this is added at the bottom. I want this to be added at the top instead. So to change the default ordering for the items, we can add a class meta here for configuration. Ordering equals create a tuple and say minus created at, and add the comma at the end there. So if I refresh now, you see that the newest messages will be at the top. Perfect. And if I try to go to a different huddle, it will be created and the messages there will be gone. Nice. Okay, so next now I want to make sure that when I write something in Huddle, all of the other members in that Huddle should be notified via email. So you can begin by going to settings.py to configure the email backend we're going to use. Right now we're just going to use the console to make it as simple as possible. So open up settings.py, scroll up, and below here, for example, we get the email underscore backend equals django.core.mail.backends.console.email backend, which will just make sure that the emails will just be printed in the console. Default from email equals no reply at huddle.com. So there are no errors, so we can proceed to the next step. And I think the next step will be to create a function, or let's create a new file in the Huddle here, utilities.py. Now we can import a few things here. So from django.conf import settings, which makes it possible for us to use information from the settings file. From django.core.mail import send mail, which is a send functionality email, send functionality function. From django.utils import time zone, and from .models import item. Then we can begin by creating the notify user function, def notify users. Here I want to pass in a Huddle and a user, because I want to know who created the Huddle. That information should be in there, so actually I don't need that. Users is the array or list of users we want to send to. So for item in huddle.items.all. That's how easy it is to get all now. If item.user not in users, just make sure that we don't add an email multiple times. Users.append item.users. I think there is an even better way to get these from the database and similar, but this will do for now. Then you can set up a subject equals, create a formatted string, new message in huddle.key. The message we want to send should be also a formatted string, user wrote a new message. And we need to say huddle.user, and the from email can be settings.default from email, which is the one that we set there, like that. And then we just use the built-in function that we imported here, send mail. We want to use the subject, we want to use the message, we want to use the from email, and the users we are going to send to. So you can just send an array or a list there. Next will be to import this functionality. So let's scroll up from .utilities, import notify users. And if I then just scroll down here and pass in the Huddle. So when this message is created, we just pass in the Huddle we got from up here, and then this functionality will take care of everything rest. Let's try to refresh now. Hello. Okay, item has no attribute users. No, that's correct. Here I was supposed to use item.user, of course. Refresh, continue. Huddle object has no attribute user. No, that's correct. Okay, let's pass in the user here like that, user, and then here we pass in the user item.user. Okay, so now we just pass in the email, we get the email here, and we print the email there. Let's try one more time, continue, and then if I go to the console now, you can see here that the subject is this one, from who it was supposed to be sent to, the message content as well. Great. And then the last functionality I want to create before we start with the deployment is the functionality for removing huddles that's older than 24 hours, because that's also something I want to do in the Celery. So below here I want to create one more function, def remove old huddles. Then I want to use the time zone to find out when 24 hours ago was. So 24 hours ago equals time zone now minus time delta, which I need to import, and in here we say hours equals 24. Then I get the warning here because time delta is not defined. So at the top of the file we say from datetime import time delta. So now we know when 24 hours ago was, and we want to get all of the items in that period. Old items equals item.objects.filter created at lower than equals 24 hours ago, like that. Actually that will be, I want this to be greater than 24 hours ago, because I want to get everyone from today, of course. And then I can say if old items.count is greater than 0, then we can say huddle equals old items.first.huddle. And to remove this, we just say huddle.delete. And this will also take care of deleting all of the items as well. So now we have that functionality. We are not going to use that locally, so we will just implement this after we have done the deployment. So to deploy this, I'm going to use Circumio, as I said previously. This is free to sign up with, but you need the premium or the pro tier to use Celery. You will still be able to follow along for some of the steps for the deployment and similar. So you can just click get started to create a new account if you haven't done that already. But I already have an account, so I just need to sign in. And when you have done that, you will be presented with this screen. You can either create a new project, import from GitHub, or upload a project. And before I click anything here, I just want to open up the documentation so that I have it here ready. Here we can begin by, for example, clicking upload project and just upload the folder we have. Huddle project directory, and then I need to find the project that I worked on now. Huddle project, upload. This will upload all, only do it if you trust the site. Yes, I do. Upload and create project. So now it's going to set up a workspace and make sure that everything is working as expected. If you want to use the PostgreSQL database, you can just copy this and go to your code, settings.py, and replace down here with the SQLite database. I'm not going to use that for this tutorial, but it would be as simple as just replacing this. So now you can see that things okay, you can see that it's actually missing a requirements.txt. Need to create that before we do this. So here we can just create a new file, requirements.txt, and we can create that together. Open up this, and then we go to our command line, stop the server, and say pip freeze. And copy these 3 lines and paste them there. And maybe we need something more. Okay, so at the bottom here, if you add PsychoPG2 version 299 and TZ data 2023.4, that should make sure that everything we need now for this tutorial will be installed. You only need to do this if you want to use the PostgreSQL. So let's try to click deploy to see what happens now. So now you can see that it's installing the TZ data, Django, etc. And the image build is completed. It is now trying to start the server. Okay, let's try clicking this now to see if it is running. Yes, it is. Hello. Huddle was created. Let's try to create a message. Yes, perfect. And as you can see again here now, the things are added in the console. Perfect. So that you can see how easy it was to deploy a project to Circumio. If you just remember to do this next time before you deploy, it will be much easier. You can also use Git, etc. if you want to just, or click the new project and Circumio will fix this for you. So now we have a way of testing Django project live for free. I do think it's worth a few bucks for getting the pro tier. It's just $4 per month, and then you get permanent storage and similar. Anyways, let's start working with the Celery part. So if I scroll down, you'll see here the Celery integration. You can see here what you can do with the user uploads, custom domains, creating super user, etc. Okay, so then let's continue with the Celery integration. So here in the docs it looks very straightforward, and we can just begin by copying these 5 lines of code, go back to Circumio and find settings.py. Just paste them there and go back to the documentation now create a file name in your app folder. Okay. Let's copy these, and in the Huddle it was supposed to be called celery.py, celery.py, and find the file and paste this. So then we have the Huddle, the Django project refers to this one, or the Huddle underscore project. I just changed it here locally, just so you know. It was supposed to be Huddle project. And when that's done, saving file, everything looks good. You may need to modify slightly on project instead of using this. Yeah, great. Once Celery py has been created, visit the settings tab and update the Celery path value. So settings, scroll down, see if we find anything. Then it says core, change of core to match your project app module name. So that should be huddle.celery. Then finally update the init in your app folder. Okay, copy this and go back and find the init.py, which right now is empty, but now it's referring to the Celery. Okay. Should now be able to set up Celery tasks like in the following example. Okay, so we want to just set up a shared task for the sending notification. So if we go back to views.py, and we can import the Celery like that, and to use that it's just a simple decorator. So scroll down. It was actually not here. I was supposed to use this. This is done in the utilities file, sorry. So import shared task again, and above here is a shared underscore task. Now it's auto saving, so we should be able to test this right away. Hello, submit. Everything is working, nothing is there now. Good, good. Yeah, I think that was it actually. Now we are able to use the celery there. Did not Huddle the celery, submit. Okay, so now it refreshed, so now it says so there. Perfect. Let's just refresh and try one more time. Hello. It is still working. Good. Logs doesn't say anything particular. I can just refresh now just to make sure that everything is good. The shell is okay, the environment is okay. So, alles gut. Yes. Okay, last step then is to make sure that this 24-hour we want to schedule the task for deleting the old huddles. So let's go back here and find out how we fix the schedule task. If you want to include a schedule task, use this one. Okay, let's copy that and find settings.py and paste that together with these. And the way we used this here now share task can be done on other things, like for example resizing images and stuff that you don't want the users to wait for before they see stuff. This should also be added to the requirements, add the following to the requirements txt. Okay, find it there and add it. Then, since we now have changed this file, we need to deploy again, so let's click that button. And while I wait for that, once the project, you should be able to visit the admin page to configure schedule task. Okay, then we need to create a super admin user. So let's open up the shell to create this. Python manage.py start, create super user admin at admin.no and then a password. Successfully created. Let's copy this address and go to /admin. Now I can log in with the user I just created. So Gumio, let's see what's going on here. It's doing some migration jobs. Executing command. Okay, so now the project is online. This seems to be ready. Celery working. So let's go back here now, and I can't see where I need to go to do this. It should work out of the box as far as I can see. Maybe I need to add this to the installed apps. Sorry if I forgot to do that. Settings.py. Yes, it needs to be added there. So auto-saving, saving file, and then I can try again, refresh. Now I have it here. Perfect. So now we can try to add an interval here. Number of periods. Interval periods, wait before turn the task again. 1 hours. Does not exist. Maybe I need to run the... Go to the shell again, run the migrate script. Python manage.py migrate. Yes, now I got a whole lot of new tables. Continue. Then we have that periodic task. Let's try to create one. Name delete old delete old huddles. Notify users. No. Okay, I just need to register that task as well, so that's probably done in the same way. Sorry for all of the back and forth. I have not used Celery a lot, so let's copy this one, paste it as a shared task, wait for this to restart, refresh again, then I should be able to choose that one, delete old huddles, enabled. We don't need this. Interval schedule every hour, yeah, it's okay. Start time today. Okay, let's try saving this now. And now this should run every hour and check if there are old huddles to be deleted. Hope we were able to follow along. I hope you want to check out Celery. It's a very great and affordable Django hosting solution, which comes with a lot of cool features like SSL. You can use Celery, PostgreSQL, etc. So just go to celery.io to check them out. If you want more content like this, feel free to leave a comment below and remember to subscribe if you haven't done that already. See you in the next video.